Still watching the Afia Morning Show live from Enugu, Nigeria. Now, Landmark Africa Group, a leading developer of world-class leisure destinations across Africa, has since begun the renovation of the iconic Nike Lake Resort to transform it into a world-class resort. Now, a video posted recently on X showed a glimpse into development so far. Recall that the renovation follows a joint venture agreement signed in January this year between the Landmark Africa Group and the Enugu state government. The deal saw the state contribute the Nike Lake Resort, a 150-hectare lakeside property, as an asset, while Landmark Africa secured a 35-year lease to manage, operate, and redevelop the resort. Now, to discuss developments so far with the project, we are joined now by Mr. Paul Onwuanibe, CEO and founder, Landmark Africa Group. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me again.
And this is, of course, on a very pleasant note.
Good morning and welcome back again.
Exactly. I think welcome back already symbolizes again, because that means you were here before and now we're welcoming you once again. Thank you, Mr. Paul.
And pleasure's mine, yes.
So let's start here. How have you been finding the Enugu terrain? You know, being a key investor in the state right now, how have you been finding the environment, the working environment? What's it been like for you so far since January?
Yeah, amazing. So the actual date we took over was March as opposed to January. So it's only been 3 or 4 months. But it's amazing. As you probably know, I spent the best part of a good part of my life in Enugu. I went to university in Enugu, the University of Nigeria Enugu campus. So coming back after 6 years, then, and reacquainting myself with Enugu and understanding the culture, the place of Enugu, the pride of the people, the passion in Enugu, and just how Enugu has set itself up to be a destination. Some of the decisions made from a policy perspective and a strategy perspective by His Excellency Dr. Peter Mba have been nothing short of outstanding. And I've seen that transformation even in the 3-4 months that we've run this hotel. So it's the future is bright.
Okay. Can you indulge us the milestones thus far, from inception? What has developed, can you just walk us through all that?
So over 3 months, obviously, having come into this place and just looking through how we're going to sort of remodel it and make it the destination we hope to bring it back to its former pride, make it a destination we hope to achieve. We had to focus on 3 things. So one is human capital. We had to change the mindset, just make sure we had the right people, train them properly, and get them used to doing things in an excellent way. They say that, how you make ordinary people do extraordinary things is where success thrives. So that has taken a long time. People don't see sort of that work, but it's an important piece of the work because, at the end of the day, it's all about people and service. Mm-hmm. The second part of the work we've done is infrastructure. It's just looking at the infrastructure issues. So after many years of neglect and the infrastructure effectively had collapsed. So whether it's the water or the power or the fiber or the drainage, the sewage. So a lot of the things that you don't actually see, and we've had to look at it, plan it, design it, and get it ready for a world-class platform. Lastly, we need to create experiences. Our entire business is about bringing people to a destination, making sure they have an exceptional time and many things to do, and then going out and telling other people about us, right? So to create the experiences requires planning and timing. And dealing with a lot of sort of multinational institutions. So we've spent a lot of time doing those 3 things, people, infrastructure, and experience. A lot of it has been, paperwork and getting quotes and just making sure this. And so that the real work or the physical work that you begin to see literally has just started. But a lot of the work that you don't see started sort of 3 months ago.
All right, Mr. Paul. Now, when you walked into Nike Lake Resort, before you turned it to Landmark Nike Lake Resort, what was the state that you met on ground? How would you describe the state of the facilities? What were those things you saw and you said, this has to go, we have to change this? What was your assessment of the state of things on ground?
Well, the first thing you do when you look at a new place is you look at the people. I mean, buildings you can change anytime. Infrastructure you can change anytime, and there's a lot of work. There's always that temptation to rush to change things and paint and do some lipstick work, but you never create long-term sustainability like that. The first thing you've got to do is deal with the people. So the first thing we looked at, and when we came in, is who is here, how good are they, and what skills do they need, what help do they need, what technology do we need to infuse into this place, how do we need to make them look, and how do we affect how our customers think. So that's taken the best part of 3 months to even get to a position where we have the right people that are being trained, and they're taking on that training, and there's a lot of sort of zeal and passion, and that makes a big difference. So that took some time, and obviously, in a business like this, which is a hospitality business and a people business, one cannot not focus on the people. So we spent a lot of time focusing on the people. The second thing was the infrastructure. As I said, the infrastructure had collapsed, so we had to do a lot of work on that. And we're not yet actually done with that before we get to the cosmetic work, but I'm sure we'll talk about some of the renovation work that from the pictures that you're seeing now.
Okay. You're talking a lot about the human development, which is very important when it comes to hospitality business, right? So how did you walk through that? Did you remove and replace, or you trained the ready individuals working there?
So everybody there was there before. So we've added people, which the idea is to focus on the people who were there, train them. There were a number of people who just couldn't do the job. They were barely even there, but they were employed. So obviously we removed a lot of the people who we didn't think had the passion or the desire to stay. We relocated them to other parts of work in the state. Then we kept the best, what we felt were the best, and we trained the best, and we've added to that best. And the training involves, first of all, discovery training. What do you know? Who are you? How long have you been here? And what ideas do you have? And what do you think is best for this place? Following the discovery training, we designed packages of actual training for service training. How do you treat customers? How do you respond to certain situations? What are the things to look out for? And how creative can you be? And then the third part of that is just execution training, is work with us to begin to execute the things that we need done. I mean, obviously, we have to change appearance, not just appearance of the hotel, but the appearance of the people. So we've worked on that. We've worked on how we've changed the beddings. We've worked on how we've changed the uniforms. We've worked on how we change how they look, how they dress, if they're construction or maintenance people, the things that they wear, the health and safety aspects. So there's been a lot of work like that to bring, because if you have the mindset at a world-class level, then when you begin to do the physical work, then it will become world-class. But if you don't have the mindset at the world-class level, then you can do all the physical work, in a few years' time, it will deteriorate again.
All right, so now we've been seeing pictures, videos on screen, and it would be nice if you can walk us through the specific renovations that have been done, beginning in the bathrooms, the bedrooms, of course, we are seeing the gates. The gate has been changed as well. The entrance, rather, has been changed. Walk us through what has been removed. I mean, tell us what was changed in the bathroom, what was changed in the room, and the guiding principle behind your ideas.
Okay, all right. So before I get to the bathrooms and the rooms, I'll just speak at a very high level first. Mm-hmm. So there are many infrastructure challenges. We've had to change the entire water system, right? The water incoming system, and that's not even yet complete. We've had to change the sewage system, and that's still sort of halfway. We've done phase one of that. We've had to change the technology system, so the system in which bookings are taken and recorded, and the finance is collected and apportioned and serviced. So having done that, and I know I've talked a lot about human capital, then we get to the sort of physical infrastructure. So there's some things we did on a temporary basis and some things we have to do on a permanent basis. The temporary basis things were fairly easy. So in the reception and the gate, some of the pictures you've just seen, a lot of them are temporary, but just to sort of clean it up, make it look nice, make it look welcoming, whilst we're going through the practicality of the designs for the overhauling of it. The rooms are slightly different in that the rooms are 210 rooms, so it's a fairly large hotel. And we thought, what do we do to make this thing special, to keep with the spirit of Enugu architecture and the Nigerian spirit, also to create some creativity and make sure that there's choice. So we invited 10 different interior designers, of which a large percentage of them are from Enugu. And we gave them a room each and said, express yourselves, right? Here are the guidelines. And they've done that over the last 12 weeks. So we have 10 versions of room types that we want to roll out amongst the 210 rooms. So we're going to go and do that and roll out between 20, 30 rooms in each version. So we'll actually have a hotel that has a lot of sort of design thoughts, a lot of creativity, but not every room, even though every room has the same shape, not every room actually looks the same. So you'll find out that the bathrooms are all different, but they're modern, they've been upgraded. The rooms are all different, but the core infrastructure is the same. So the TV channels will be the same, the nature of the bed will be the same. The fact that there's a sink, a toilet, and a shower will be the same. The handles and stuff may be different. The reading area will be the same. The kettles that you use will be the same. The service you receive will be the same, but the look and the feel will be different.
And I think that's what the prospects want to hear, the prospective guests would like to hear. Now, let's talk about the financials of this. And you said you would invest 10 billion or more than 10 billion to renovate the Nike Lake Resort. Walk us through how much of this investment has been spent so far. And at the end of this, how deep would we have to reach into our pockets before we can afford an evening at the landmark Nike Lake Resort?
It's a really good question. So in terms of the investment, I honestly hope we haven't underestimated that we faced some challenges that I didn't think we would face, just in terms of the infrastructure and the cost of things. And as I said, there are effectively three things we're doing, and we've talked a lot about human capital. But we're creating, apart from renovating the hotel itself, we're creating a new adventure park, which is effectively our destination, and which is the flagship, which is the thing that's going to bring people in the state, in the region, in the country, to Enugu to have a nice time. So it's likely to exceed that 10 billion. But this is a long-term game. And over the next 5 years, we would have spent, I will assume, probably a lot more than that 10 billion. But I think the 25 years following that, hopefully, we'll recoup it. So it's a long-term game. With regards to affordability, because it's a long-term game, one would hope that it will not be felt that much. So in the hotel itself, we did a lot of research in terms of hotel, conferencing, feeding in Enugu and its environs, and how much are the average prices. So it's important for us to stay within that sort of range. So there's local affordability and regional affordability. So I can assure you that following the complete renovation, the rooms will not be more than the average room rates in Enugu. As a matter of fact, they will probably be maybe 20% less than the average for the standard.
How would you reconcile the accounts if the rooms would be 20% less? And what do you consider the average price of hotel rooms in Enugu right now?
Okay, so the average price from our research ranges from about 60,000 to about 120,000. Obviously, there are outliers, there are places that are less than 60 and over 120, but most hotels are within that sort of bracket. And we will be right in the middle of that. So that hopefully that answers your question. In terms of how do we recoup, as I said, it's a long-term game. We're in this business for a long time. We want to be here for a long time. So we're not looking to recover our money tomorrow. It's a simple mathematical calculation. When we look at our cash flows, irrespective of how much money you spend, as long as you spread it over a period of time and you deliver the service and you make your place successful, if we have 70, 80% occupancy, which is our aim, then we will be able to charge reduced amounts for a longer period of time, and we'll do very well. When we took over this place, there was 2% occupancy in the hotel, and right now we're at 40%, and we haven't even refurbished. We've changed the infrastructure, but we haven't refurbished most of the rooms. That tells you that the people of Enugu are beginning to believe and beginning to reassociate itself with what effectively is a very iconic and idyllic resort.
Well, but in recent times, some of the rooms, infrastructures changed, right? How are people coming around for lodging at this point in time? Are you incorporating some funds already?
I think that's a very important question. Are people allowed to stay during this renovation period?
Yes, no, absolutely, because we're doing this in phases. We didn't close the hotel down to listen, and we've had some incredible events here. Even in the last 2 months since we took over, we've had the Ohaneze Ndibo event. This is where the conference was held. We had the the Archbishops Conference. So all the archbishops across the country were here. There were over 170 rooms booked. Then we had the Editors Guild. We had the Southeast Educators Forum, and 150, 160 people booked, all the conference rooms used. So the hotel is extremely busy. The swimming pool area, we've been refurbishing that. Literally, we're about to finish it, but we've been doing it in phases, that area. There are over 150 members there. They're coming all the time. So it's busy. One of the things we're trying to do is not close down this place, but to have people have that experience while the refurbishment goes on. And over the next 5 to 6 months, you would see the work as we begin to build the destination in the easternmost part of the hotel, and where the dilapidated children's area is. That's where we're going to create our adventure destination. And you see some of the things coming up there. And when you ask about how do you defray our costs, this is not just a hotel, it's a resort and a destination. So this lush green you see on the screen now, will remain lush green, but we're going to incorporate adventure and activities and things that many people want to come to. So when people come, there'll be a payment to enter, and it will be a single payment, and you'll enjoy as many of the facilities as you can. So you're either staying in the hotel after, and entry will be free if you're staying in the hotel or you're coming for a conference. But if you're coming literally just for the destination and the leisure and the hospitality, there'll be a very small fee to come in, and hopefully that will spread and reduce the overall impact of costs across the board.
Great. Let's talk about the swimming pool area now. What exactly are you doing to rehabilitate, to renovate, to bring adventure into the swimming pool area? And when you talk about the adventure park for the children, walk us through what the little tykes should expect.
Okay, fantastic. So the swimming pool area, we've had to change the cabanas. We've had to introduce the more hospitable spaces. We've had to renovate the bar, the kitchen, the changing rooms, and we've had to change the pool pump and the some of the parts of the pool itself. We've had to change the area around the pool. We're building a stage so we can have small events there as well. We've created a bit more credible health and safety facilities around. We haven't started renovating the tennis courts, which is just behind that. So that whole area, they want to create a sporting area around it. I think will be important to achieve. So that's where we are with the swimming pool area. And with regards to the adventure park, it's two things. So there's a children's area and there's a grown-up area. The children's area will have things like little basketball, volleyball, children's rides, a water park, swings and slides, a little educational center. We'll have an illusion museum, an upside down house. So there are a number of things that are there to tickle the imagination of both children and adults, right?
I think you'll go beyond tickling the imagination. You might overhaul the entire imagination of the little children.
But then again, let me add to this, right? So what's the plan for the lake?
A very important question. The plan for the lake. Many people feel a bit uncomfortable with the color of the lake, and they feel like it can be sanitized, if we can say that.
Or bring activity around it, by the way. Yeah.
Right.
So there will be a lot of activity around it, but what we actually have to do with the lake will take some time. So we've had some experts who are looking at it. We haven't come up with a conclusive direction yet. But as you know, it's a lake that flows from one end to the other outside the realms of our resort. So, sometimes it's clean, sometimes it looks dirty. So something more comprehensive than just sort of, if you like, sanitizing it has to happen. So we're still looking at that, but we need to find a way to make this water flow. And until that water flows, it's not going to look great. But right now, it looks great from a perspective of having boat rides and stuff. But it's not an immersion lake. You can't step into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now coming to the crocodiles, because we know the lakeside at Nike Lake is known for the crocodiles or alligators there. So what are you going to do with that element of wildlife? Yes,
so there's a lot of folklore around that, right? I'm yet to see a crocodile, and there's someone who's lived in Nike Lake for 14 years that actually hasn't seen one yet. But they talk about them. So when we begin, so the experts that we've called in, and when they begin to look at the lake and how we can make it flow, and we're going to look at the wildlife and how we sustain it. As you know, there's a little island there, and we intend to create some kind of nature reserve. And so we've got to figure out, one is how do we separate wildlife from people? How do we make people see that wildlife in a not just a compelling way, but in a safe way. And how do we create an atmosphere that's serene, that's clean, and it's nice to look at, and it's safe to lounge by. And so a lot of that conversation will take place when our final report comes in about the lake and the wildlife in the lake and the island. Yes.
At this point in time, I believe I have seen a crocodile at that lakeside. I've seen. No, I recall seeing a crocodile there. So
yeah, that could be like yesteryears, like very long time.
I've seen a crocodile,
there,
Mr. Paul. I guarantee you I've seen a crocodile there, because I don't see that it's just me that saw it and then we assume they're not there.
It might just be imagination.
This sounds like
it might be, but many people say that there are crocodiles. When I grew up in Enugu, they said there were crocodiles there, so I believe that they are. I haven't seen the eggs, I haven't seen the crocodiles. As I said, someone who's been there for 14 years, lived in one of the villages there, hasn't seen one yet either. But I've met a lot of people who said they've seen. But we're going to deal with that in a way. I see fishermen there fishing with their hands in the water, and they're either feeding the crocodiles or they're collecting the fish. But
okay,
no hand has been bitten off yet.
Yeah. Still talking about infrastructure, right? How do you tend to blend the modern infrastructure and still, maintain the cultural, natural feel of Nike Lake?
No, really great question. Really, really great question, and that's been one of the challenges in design and creativity. So it's one of the reasons that we've chosen to have several creators or designers that we're working with. So we'll see sort of different types of expressions of this. By and large, in terms of the grounds, we're going to keep the grounds lush green, try to retain most, if not all, the trees, accentuate the paths, and ensure that even the low-level lighting, the serenity of the area remains undisturbed. So hopefully that will retain a lot of the Nigerian or the Eastern architecture. Inside of the hotel is going to be a lot more modern, to be fair. The common areas like the reception area and the retail alley, we're going to try to retain a lot of this sort of historical architecture whilst we change the lighting and the fenestration and stuff. But it's going to be a little bit of a mix. We haven't fully decided how we're going to deal with the outside. In any case, we're going to paint it first, right? But we need to find a way to clad it and create it, make it look different and give it a different face, and figure out how we can create that at the same time as retaining that spirit of the region. And so there's still so much to do there. Really, really good question. We've spent the best part of 2 months agonizing, looking at various proposals and concepts. And, we're not there yet on the outside of the resort. We've just concluded the inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you spoke about, work being done, the project being handled, contractors. Would you walk us through the kind of contractors that have been engaged in this process? For transparency's sake, many people want to know who is handling what, where, and when. So could you walk us through the nature of the contractors being engaged for the project?
Okay, so obviously for confidentiality's sake, I can't call names, but from a contextual point of view, is in most instances for different projects, we've called between 5 and 6 contractors. In some cases more. We've narrowed down to 3. Sometimes when there are multiple things to do, we've given as many as 3 of the contractors the work. And when there's a single thing to do, and we're trying to narrow down to the best. The best is not the cheapest. The best is the one that has the most experience and the most local knowledge. In terms of the contractors, I would say at least 60% of them are local, because most of these things are local. In some instances where those things can't be achieved locally, we've had to look at through the region and import in many instances as well. So that's a process that's going on. I would like to think we're probably only about 10 to 15% of the sort of physical, civil, and beautification infrastructure that needs to be done. So there's still a lot more to be done. But
that's right.
We don't make TVs in Nigeria, so we have to buy them abroad.
Right.
Same thing with cement.
Okay, I was going to ask you the brand, but I wouldn't like us to freely advertise for anyone. So I don't want to take you back to the past, but I just have to. You spoke about the issues with the staff earlier. You didn't remove them, but you basically took them to other places where they could become stakeholders.
Yeah.
There we can call so that obviously I also cited absenteeism being a major factor for having to rechannel their efforts elsewhere. So what do you consider the major criteria for employing people at the landmark Nike Lake Resort? What were those issues, the weaknesses of some staff members you saw earlier that you could not tolerate at the hotel? And what are you looking for when you're trying to employ new people to join the workforce?
Yeah, thank you. So amongst all the things that you would want in a person, I'm going to focus on three things. One is attention to detail. You need someone who actually has the rigor and the tenacity to be detailed, right? Because you're dealing with other people, you're dealing with an experience, you're trying to give people an experience. So attention to detail is important. Anybody who doesn't have attention to detail simply couldn't work there. The second thing is creativity. You must have real creativity. You must be prepared to think outside the box, to dream and to find ways of being creative and doing something that's different and not sort of local and the same. Right? And then the third thing is passion. You must have the courage and the perseverance and the passion to want to work here. So you see, those three things are non-negotiable. In addition to the normal things, you want people who have reasonable intelligence. Whether it's native intelligence or academic intelligence is intelligence. You want people who are intelligent. So at least it provides a platform for you to train them. We have decided, so you probably know a little bit more about Landmark. In Landmark, we're an African company. We've operated in 17 African cities before, 14 African countries. And we've never employed foreigners. Everybody in Landmark is African. So, this is a company that we built in Africa for Africans by Africans. So Landmark Nike Lake is going to be no different. We're going to focus on local people. And that's what we've done so far.
Right.
And so everybody at this point in time, full-time in Nike Lake is local. And local means not necessarily from the state of Enugu, but lives in Enugu or has lived in Enugu or is from the state of Enugu. We've had to bring people, obviously, from other parts of our business to help, to train, and to guide. And some of them have spent a considerable amount of time there.
I mean, I love the fact that, yes, you're giving Enugu people the chance local. You kept it local. You have all the connections. You could actually bring in anybody to be a contractor or take one or two things, establishing that firm. But you kept it local. But I want to ask you this question. Thus far, are you impressed by those local contractors, the work they've been doing, they've put in all this while?
Well, let me be honest and straight up here. There's been the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some of these people we've met and some of the people who've worked with us, it just beggars belief. Some of them are absolutely incredible. They're not just passionate and intelligent and hardworking, and they actually want the best for the place, right? So I'm impressed with those. They've been the people who literally just want to make a buck. Who've come over, they think we've come with a cartload of money, and they just want to make money, and they don't really care about excellence or doing the work. And then they're the people in the middle who you have to train, who you have to say, look, guys, this is different. So they've come for a buck. They're a little bit interested, but they're not quite sure. So we're trying to make those people in the middle excellent and great, and try to decipher who are the people who just don't really have the passion and the commitment to what we're trying to do. So, the simple answer has been there's been the very good, there's been the extremely poor, and there have been quite a few in the middle, but at least between 20 and 30% of the people who come into contact with.
Now, there are some people who have come on Afia TV, some pundits, analysts that believe that the distance between the landmark Nike Lake Resort and Enugu Metropolis would be a challenge. It would make landmark Nike Lake Resort not to succeed because people would not want to travel all the way out of town to go to Nike Lake, landmark Nike Lake. And that might be a factor that might impact the attendance, or shall we say the stay of guests at landmark Nike Lake Resort. Do you consider distance between the resort and the metropolis a factor? Why do you think it's not going to be if you don't think it's not going to be. How do you feel about this view by pundits?
Good comments, by the way, and everybody is entitled to an opinion, and they may be right, they may be wrong. I went to the university in Enugu when I was leaving in 1988. I had my graduation party in Nike Lake. At that time, it was incredibly far because there was very little in between Enugu campus and Nike Lake. Nike Lake is closer to the airport than the metropolis of Enugu. The fact that somewhere is far does not mean people will not go. You just have to give them a reason to go. People go to the airport, people go to universities. Most of the resorts around the world are not inside the city. They're actually far. So, people will make a decision whether what we do is attractive enough for them to come. But, we could quite easily move the center of gravity of Enugu. And I've seen this happen in city after city after city. Something comes up that's of significance and everybody wants to go, the center of gravity moves. If I were a pundit right now, rather than focus on distance, I would find ways to buy land around Nike Lake.
That's right. I mean, that's
just chip it in there.
That's a powerful answer. Making it the center of gravity. You are basically saying that any smart investor, any smart pundit should be looking towards getting land around there, because Nike Lake, landmark Nike Lake, is about to become the center of gravity. Now, let's also come to the other angle of this. There have been companies that have tried to run the Nike Lake resort before Landmark came in. We saw Protea, and I'm sure there were others before then. What makes you think that the landmark solution is the solution? Why didn't Protea stay? What have you observed could have been the reason they couldn't do it?
So let me first of all put in a disclaimer in terms of whether Protea could do it or not. But if they didn't stay, it's because someone didn't want them to stay, right? Or it's because they just decided to go because someone was more interested. But they're hotel operators is the bottom line, right? Landmark, we're not a hotel operator, we're a destination creator. What we basically do is we have a 3-point strategy. We focus on creating an experience so we can bring as many people as possible to this platform. We can give them amazing experiences, things to do, and we can ensure that we serve them in such a way they go and tell other people about us. So we're a destination creator. We focus on activity, on adventure, on leisure, right? The hotel is a byproduct of what we do. So, my experience with Nike Lake, not when I was in university, and my experience with the resorts around the world, people go there because they want to either relax, or they're going for conferences or meetings, or they're going for hospitality or adventure. And they don't go there, stay in a hotel, and go out to have meetings. Yeah? And when you come in here, the next time you see the gate is when you're leaving. So we will see. But we created the most visited destination in West Africa in a 6-year period in Lagos, and we literally did that by creating adventure, experience, and leisure.
Okay. I want to ask this question again. Why Nike Lake? Was it because of the experience you had yesteryears when you were in Enugu State schooling? Did anything, inside of yourself tell you that one day I will transform this place and, make it a home for tourism in the Southeast and Nigeria or Africa or globally? Why Nike Lake?
I wish I could say it was that romantic. My wife is from Enugu, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's an additional incentive. I schooled here and it's close to me. But so there are 3 things. One is that we're creating a geographic rollout in West Africa of our leisure, hospitality, and sporting platform. And we've chosen 8 different locations, and we've chosen 3 to start with, right? And Nike Lake is one of the 3 we've chosen to start with, and is amongst the 8. And there's several criteria for that. One is we want to work in areas that have great governance, that have sort of policies and strategies that will attract tourists, that are focused on MICE, meetings, incentives, and they just want people to come in. And then we want a place that's secure, and then we want a place that has a platform that people actually want to come to, that we can create. We can raise it up several notches, not just in terms of design and infrastructure, but in terms of experience and culture. So Nike Lake just ticked all the boxes. So literally it's the first of the 8 rollouts that we're intending to do. You may not have heard of other announcements that have been made. but there are a few more announcements that will be made over the next 2 to 3 months. But Nikki Lake just ticked all the boxes, and the leadership of the state is hell bent on improving the hospitality and leisure content in the state, and we so much want to be part of that.
What are the challenges that you're currently facing in the process of renovating the resort?
Well, we've talked about human capital, and I keep on going back to that. So it's a major challenge, but we would like to believe we're overcoming that gradually. The infrastructure challenges are plenty, because whilst we're trying to keep the resort open and deal with these infrastructure issues, well, the power challenges are quite significant, and we're doing things to lay that. There have been many legacy issues that we're trying to solve. So we have a lot of people who just knock on our door saying, there are issues from the past that we need you to come and deal with. So that's obviously a challenge. In every world, finance is always a challenge. So as I said, we were expecting to spend 10 billion naira here over a period of 3 to 5 years. But it looks like we're going to spend a lot more than that, and a lot sooner, right? So from a financial perspective, we've had encroachment challenges. So the land that we thought was available to do all the things we wanted to do is not quite all available. Not the biggest challenge in the world, but it has created some constraints in some areas. Access challenges. So the road is being done. His Excellency promised to do the road, and it's being done. It's been done incredibly quickly, and we're grateful for that. But obviously, there's pain before the gain, whilst the roads are being done. The challenge of very few airlines coming into Enugu and leaving Enugu from other parts of the country and the region. But with the recent announcement of Enugu Air, we're beginning to see some big changes to that. But that's the challenge. If you can only bring in 500 people into a city a day, then you're very limited by the number of people who can fly in and do things.
You talk about Enugu Air, right? So I'm trying to, target to the landmark, Nikki Lake, right? And how pivotal this airline is going to aid, bring in influx of people. And are there plans of redirecting some of these tourists down to Nikki Lake when they visit Enugu?
Yes, no, absolutely. So we're advertising a lot outside Enugu, by the way. We've been trying to get a place in the airport to create a lounge as well, so we can give the tourists an experience. And we haven't yet succeeded in doing that. So I'm plugging it in here in case anybody can put a call to me to make sure we can succeed.
Sure,
but the whole idea is to create a seamless experience, and bring people in either through air or through land, and create an experience so they can come straight to Nikki Lake, not feel exposed, not feel insecure, and enjoy themselves. And people make people. So the more people you bring in and have a great experience, then more new people will come. And so it's very important that the creation of Enugu Air, I think, is an exceptionally positive thing for us. And because it means that Enugu now has an airline, it's going to focus on bringing people to Enugu from different places. So we need to key into that, and we really do need this space in the airport.
Yes. How much is the Enugu state government getting involved in the renovation process? And also with regards to the legacy challenges, people knocking at the door saying, oh, we have this pending issue that has not been resolved. Now that you're here, you have to do it for us. I understand that body language. How involved is the state government generally in the renovations, and also with regards to handling some of those legacy issues that were on ground before you signed the agreement?
So the agreement we signed with the Enugu state government obviously is a lease. So we have 100% control of what we're trying to do and trying to achieve. The money we make is ours. The money we spend is ours. The Enugu state government has been incredibly helpful in terms of providing an enabling environment, in terms of advising, in terms of fast tracking things that are required. And in terms of some of the legacy issues, we have different arms of the government we're dealing with who are responding when we receive those issues. The ones we can deal with, we deal with. The ones that we can't deal with, we move on to the government agencies to deal with. So far, the experience has been seamless. But these legacy issues continue to come up.
What are some of those legacy issues? Do you mind sharing some of those legacy issues with us?
And some of them are tax issues. So some of them are taxes. Some of them are vendor issues and supply issues. Some of them are former clients or existing clients. Some of them are people who had leases. And some of them are land issues, encroachment issues. Some of them, are human issues. So people who have worked there or who work there. So there are many of them.
Mm-hmm. I see that you focus a lot on the human factor as you do your work with Landmark. I mean, you always cite the human, and the thing with humans is, I think human resource management is one of the most challenging things, because humans are so incredibly unpredictable, and it's impossible to control. So you don't know what's going to happen next. But let's shift away from the challenges now and round up on this note. What would you consider the most interesting thing that future guests should look forward to once the renovation of Landmark Nike Lake Resort is complete?
Three things. So one is just an idyllic location. So come here and have leisure, right? The second is adventure. We will give you a number of different options and things to do that you've never done before, right? Or if you have done before, you've had to travel thousands and thousands of miles to do them. And then the third thing is customer services. We want to provide a brand of customer service unknown in this region. So those things take time, but we will get there. So as I said, one is about human beings. The second is about physical infrastructure. And then the third is about experience. So, there's a generation of people that like to take pictures. We'll give them a lot of pictures to take.
I mean, I'm sure we can already see the scenery as well building up. So is there anything else you would like to add right before we let you go? Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this?
Really, it's been a fascinating experience. It's only been 2 to 3 months, right? We're putting in a lot of effort and a lot of work. We're doing sort of 20-hour shifts just to ensure that we can achieve the dream. So the only thing I'd like to say is, I want the people to be patient and to bear with us as we start this transformation and conclude this transformation. This transformation is going to take the best part of 3 years to complete. You begin to see massive changes within the next sort of 3 to 6 months in any case. But we want people to keep on coming to Nike Lake and come and try it, whether it's just to walk around and see the atmosphere, whether it's to come and have a drink or a meal, whether it's to stay in the hotel. Please do come and let's treat you.
But what was the feedback thus far? What's the feedback thus far? I know a couple of infrastructures improved. So what's the feedback thus far?
Very mixed. So a lot of people come and just have an absolutely cracking time, right? And say they didn't realize that this place would be so enjoyable to be in and so relaxing and stuff. A lot of the feedback we receive from people who have come before and who are coming now is the staff feedback. Saying that the customer services now just seems people are paying attention, people are friendly, people want us to be here. So they've seen a lot of that. From an infrastructure point of view, obviously we made some changes to the reservation system, the technology, the TV and stuff. So there's been feedback on that. A lot in the rooms had not changed until the last couple of weeks. So we've had a lot of challenges with some of the infrastructure. We've had challenges with hot water, we've had challenges with power, and we've had challenges with some of the rooms being quite dilapidated that we're still trying to renovate. So there's been negative feedback on people who expected a better experience or thought the hotel had already been renovated. So there's been some negative feedback from that. And that will happen until all the rooms are renovated. But what pleases me is the positive feedback on just on how people feel. You know the saying, right? It's not what people tell you; it's how you make them feel. And
right.
Is it going smart? Is Landmark Nike Lake going smart, tech driven? Is that experience too something people need to look forward to?
Yes, I mean, look, it's bit by bit, right? So technology is incredibly important to make things more efficient. So we've introduced a new reservation system. We've introduced a new intranet system for the team. So they're even still getting used to that, right? So from a technology point of view, there are a lot of things. We use AI a lot within Landmark, and a lot of that incorporation into our sort of operations is important. When our adventure park and leisure park opens, it's very technologically driven. We use an app to not just for the vendors who do the things there, but also for the clients who purchase our our facilities. So technology is a very big part of what we do, but
Right.
it's a gradual process there.
Now, before we let you go, I mean, people are obviously eating now at home, having breakfast, or some people are at work looking for what they're going to have for lunch. So
Yeah.
before we let you go, let's talk about food. What kind of food are we going to expect when eventually we return guests at the landmark Nike Lake Resort? What changes would Landmark be making to the kind of food that will be served? That is what people look forward to when they decide to plan an evening out with the family. You know, what should we look forward to?
Okay, so let me give you the real good news here. All right, so the real good news here is that we will bring in 12 different food and beverage vendors. So variety is exactly what we do. We've gone through the process, and you may have seen in some of the press, we've gone through the process of selecting operators who can operate the different food and beverage outlets. And local operators who are loved and known and who have quality. So we've had the tasting exercise, we've gone through the recruitment exercise for that. So we'll have all the different foods, both local, regional, and international foods. But there'll be 12 different options through the resort.
So is the chef going to be changed, the current chef?
No, so we've changed all the we've made all the changes that we're going to make. The people who are there, they were only adding to them. So the chef